The quantum wake of hyperspace travel dissipated around the ECS Hyperion like ghostly blue flames, revealing the vast darkness of the Arcturus sector. Standing on the bridge, Admiral James Maverick Harrison felt the familiar weight of command settle onto his shoulders as he watched the tactical display materialize before him. The massive Supercarrier, humanity's greatest achievement in military engineering, hung against the backdrop of distant stars like a titan awakening from slumber. Stealth systems engaged, Admiral. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Torres announced from her station, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. Phantom Skin is operating at optimal efficiency. As far as anyone else is concerned, we're just another refugee transport limping through the sector. Harrison nodded, his weathered face reflected in the reinforced plasteel viewport. At 53, he was considered young for an admiral, but the past 5 years of war had left their mark in the gray streaks through his dark hair and the hard lines around his eyes. Status of the Vraxian fleet. Long-range sensors are picking up 37 capital ships in attack formation around New Gibraltar Station. Torres replied, her voice tight. They're maintaining siege positions, standard Vraxian doctrine. They're waiting for reinforcements before launching their final assault. Harrison allowed himself a grim smile. Vraxian military doctrine was as predictable as it was effective. Overwhelming force applied with mathematical precision. It had won them control of 12 sectors in the past year alone. But they'd never faced anything like the Hyperion before. What's the status of our combat wings? Harrison asked, turning to face the holographic tactical display dominating the bridge's center. The massive screen showed the Hyperion's three-dimensional rendering, a vessel 3 kilometers long and nearly 1 kilometer wide, at its widest point. Traditional naval architects had called it impossible. The Vraxians would soon learn otherwise. Commander Jack Ghostwriter Reynolds, the ship's CAG, commander, Air Group, stepped forward. All fighter squadrons are prepped and ready in their bays, sir. Drone control teams are running final neural link calibrations. We can launch our first wave within 90 seconds of your order. The Hyperion carried more strike craft than the entire rest of the human fleet combined. Over 300 piloted fighters and twice that many autonomous drones. It was an approach no other species had considered. They all focused on energy weapons and impenetrable shields. But humanity had learned different lessons from its centuries of warfare. Message incoming from New Gibraltar Station, Torres announced suddenly. Text only. They're asking for authentication. Send the recognition codes, Harrison ordered, straightening his midnight blue uniform, and patch me through to station command. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the haggard face of General Elena Santos. Her eyes widened at the sight of Harrison. James. The rumors were true then. When they said Earth was sending help, she trailed off, staring past him at the bridge of humanity's first supercarrier. Hello, Elena. Sorry we're late to the party. Harrison's casual tone belied the gravity of the situation. I hear you have a Vraxian problem. That's putting it mildly. Santos managed a weak laugh. We've lost contact with every other Alliance stronghold in the sector. We're all that's left, and our shields won't hold against another concentrated assault. The Vraxians are just waiting for their dreadnought reinforcements before they finish us off. She paused, studying him. Please tell me whatever you brought is as good as command promised. Harrison glanced around his bridge. At the crew working with quiet efficiency, at the displays showing the hundreds of combat craft waiting in their bays, at the revolutionary weapons systems no one outside Earth's top military circles even knew existed. Better, he replied simply. But we'll need to act fast. How long until those reinforcements arrive? Santos checked something off-screen. Best estimate is 3 hours. Perfect. Harrison's expression hardened with determination. That's all the time we need. Maintain your defensive posture and prepare your fighters to coordinate with our assault. And Elena. He allowed himself a small smile. Watch closely. You're about to see why they call us the most dangerous species in the galaxy. As the communication ended, Harrison turned to his crew. "Battle stations," he ordered, his voice carrying across the suddenly silent bridge. "It's time to show the Vraxians why they should have finished us off when they had the chance." The massive carrier's internal lighting shifted to combat red as klaxons began to sound. Deep within the vessel's armored halls, pilots rushed to their fighters while drone operators settled into their neural link chambers. The Hyperion had arrived, and the galaxy was about to change forever. Vraxian Scout Squadron approaching on Vector 317. Torres reported, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. 3 Hawkeye-class corvettes. They're running active scans. Harrison kept his expression neutral, but inwardly he smiled. The Hyperion's bridge crew held their breath collectively as the alien vessels drew closer. Years of research, countless lives, and humanity's future rode on what happened in the next few minutes. Phantom Skin responding exactly as designed. Chief Engineer Jackson O'Reilly reported from his station, his Irish accent thick with pride. "The outer hull's quantum matrix is redistributing their scan patterns just like we planned. As far as they're concerned, we're reading as a Type C civilian transport with engine trouble." The Vraxian corvettes were sleek, predatory shapes against the stars, their crystalline hulls gleaming with internal energy. They represented everything humanity had struggled against. Technological superiority wrapped in cold, alien efficiency. But humanity had learned to turn its weaknesses into strengths. "They're broadcasting," Torres announced. "In the clear, meant for us to hear." Harrison nodded. "Let's hear what our friends have to say." The bridge speakers crackled with the translated Vraxian transmission. "Attention, human vessel. You have entered a military exclusion zone. Your primitive stealth attempts are noted and dismissed. Prepare for boarding and inspection." "Primitive, they say," O'Reilly chuckled darkly. "Those arrogant bastards haven't figured out that what they're seeing is exactly what we want them to see." Harrison turned to Commander Reynolds. "Status of our surprise package." "Strike Wings Alpha through Delta are powered up and ready in their ghost bays," Reynolds replied, referring to the revolutionary hangars that, like the rest of the ship, were masked by Phantom Skin technology. "Neural link synchronization at 98%. Lieutenant Rodriguez's squadron is particularly eager to introduce themselves." The Hyperion's true genius lay not just in its size, but in its integration of human and machine. While other species pursued pure AI or pure organic control, humanity had found its edge in synthesis. Neural-linked pilots could control their fighters with thought alone, while drone operators managed entire squadrons through direct mental connection. "Another transmission." "Sir," Torres interrupted. They're laughing at us." The translated message filled the bridge. "High Command will be amused. The humans send a transport to break our siege. Perhaps they intend to bore us into surrender with their technological inadequacy." "Record everything," Harrison ordered. "I want their overconfidence documented for the history books." He turned to his XO, Commander David Chen. "Status of the primary weapons grid." "All systems green," Chen replied, his fingers moving across his console. "Point defense networks are charged but masked. Railgun capacitors at full power. And our little surprise in the bow is armed and ready." The little surprise was anything but little, a magnetic accelerator cannon running the length of the ship, capable of launching projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. The Vraxians, with their reliance on energy shields, had never encountered anything like it. "Sir," Torres called out, her voice urgent, "we're picking up encrypted transmissions from the corvettes to the main Vraxian fleet. They're requesting permission to bypass us as a non-threat. They're categorizing us as primitive human attempt at deception, not worthy of fleet resources." Harrison allowed himself a full smile now. "Perfect. Time to start Phase 2. He opened a ship-wide channel. "All hands, this is the Admiral. Prepare for combat operations. Show these arrogant bastards what humanity can do." Throughout the massive carrier, crews snapped to action. In the neural link chambers, drone operators settled into their pods, their minds extending to connect with their mechanical squadrons. In the fighter bays, Pilots like Emma Phoenix Rodriguez climbed into their craft, the neural interfaces at the base of their skulls tingling as they connected with their machines. "Let them get a little closer," Harrison ordered, watching the Vraxian corvettes circle arrogantly closer. "Let them think they've got us all figured out." He paused, remembering all the battles lost, all the retreats, all the humiliation humanity had endured. "Then we'll show them why you should never underestimate humans." The Vraxian corvettes drew closer, their sensors still reading nothing but a crippled transport. They had no way of knowing they were about to witness the dawn of a new era in warfare, and that their overconfidence was about to become their undoing. The massive Vraxian assault fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect attack formation. 37 capital ships arranged in their species' signature hexagonal pattern. At their center, the dreadnought Star Crusher loomed like a crystalline mountain, its energy weapons already charging with an ominous purple glow. "Now that's an entrance," Harrison muttered, then raised his voice. "Time to show them ours. Commander Reynolds, commence Operation Thunderstrike." "Aye, sir." Reynolds' fingers flew across his console. "All pilots, all drone operators. Execute launch sequence Alpha." This is not a drill. The Hyperion's phantom skin rippled and dissolved, revealing the true nature of the vessel beneath. Massive armored bay doors slid open along its length like a blooming flower of titanium and composite materials. The Vraxian fleet's tactical networks erupted with confusion as their sensors suddenly registered hundreds of new contacts where moments ago they had seen only a transport. "First wave launching now," Reynolds announced, his voice steady despite the excitement. From the Hyperion's bays poured a storm of fighters and drones. Lieutenant Emma Rodriguez led the charge in her Arrowhead-class fighter, the neural link humming at the base of her skull as she merged with her machine. Behind her, 3 squadrons of drone fighters moved in perfect formation, their AI cores enhanced by human operators through the neural network. "Phoenix Squadron, weapons free," Rodriguez called out. "Show these crystalline bastards what Earth's finest can do." The Vraxian fleet's response was predictably mechanical. Their ships began to adjust their formation to account for the fighter threat, energy weapons charging. But their algorithms had never encountered human battle doctrine before, had never needed to account for the controlled chaos that was Earth's signature style of warfare. "They're launching their own fighters," Torres reported from Tactical. "Standard intercept pattern." "Wait." She paused, confused. "Sir, they're sending out an open broadcast to their fleet." "They're laughing." The translated message echoed across the bridge. "The humans think to challenge us with their primitive projectile weapons and unmanned drones. Let us educate them in the superiority of Vraxian technology." Harrison's smile was predatory. "Send targeting data to Lieutenant Rodriguez. Let's begin their education." The space between the fleets erupted in light and fury. Vraxian fighters, each one a marvel of crystalline engineering, moved to intercept the human attack squadrons with mathematical precision. They fired their energy weapons in perfect synchronization, expecting to swat the human craft from space with ease. But Rodriguez and her pilots weren't flying like machines. They were flying like humans with machine enhancement. Her squadron split apart in seemingly random patterns, their movements unpredictable and organic. The drone squadrons, guided by their neural-linked operators, moved with impossible coordination, creating chaos in the Vraxian formation. "First blood is ours," Torres announced as Rodriguez's squadron claimed their first kills. Vraxian fighters didn't expect the railguns. Their shields are calibrated for energy weapons. The human fighters magnetically accelerated projectiles, tore through Vraxian shields designed to deflect energy weapons, shattering their crystalline hulls. Rodriguez herself claimed 3 kills in the opening seconds, her neural-linked targeting systems allowing her to fire with thought alone. "Star Crusher is powering up their main weapon," Chen reported. "They're targeting the Hyperion directly." Harrison nodded. "Right on schedule." "O'Reilly, status of our point defense grid." "Ready to give them a proper Irish welcome, sir," the engineer replied with a grin. The Star Crusher's main weapon fired, a beam of concentrated plasma that could slice a conventional capital ship in half. But as it approached the Hyperion, thousands of small projectiles launched from the carrier's point defense grid. Each one was simple and cheap compared to Vraxian technology, but they did something the aliens had never seen. They carried sheets of super-reflective material that deployed in the beam's path, creating a cloud of mirrors that scattered the deadly energy harmlessly into space. "Send the message," Harrison ordered as the Vraxian flagship's most powerful weapon proved useless. Tories transmitted their response. "Class is in session. Today's lesson: never judge Earth by its technology level alone." The battle was far from over. But as Harrison watched his fighters tear through the enemy formation, while the mighty Star Crusher reeled in confusion, he knew the galaxy was about to learn a vital truth. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't its technology. It was its ability to use that technology in ways no one else had imagined. Lieutenant Emma Phoenix Rodriguez's neural link hummed with battle data as she threw her Arrowhead fighter into a spiral that would have knocked an unaugmented pilot unconscious. 3 Vraxian pursuers followed, their crystalline fighters streaming azure energy trails as they tried to match her maneuvers. "Predictable," she muttered, her thoughts instantly relayed to her squadron. "They're still flying by their combat algorithms." "Pixel, you seeing this?" In the Hyperion's drone control center, Kevin Pixel Chen sat in his neural pod, his consciousness spread across 12 drone fighters. "Reading you, Phoenix. They're trying to box you in using standard pattern 7. Want some chaos? Light 'em up." Through their neural network, Rodriguez watched as Chen's drone squadron suddenly broke from their formation. Instead of moving with mechanical precision, like Vraxian drones, each fighter began executing randomly selected human combat maneuvers, including some pulled from centuries-old footage of Earth's aerial dogfights. The Vraxian fighters' AI cores struggled to compute the seemingly illogical attack patterns. That moment of confusion was all Rodriguez needed. She cut her engines, letting her fighter drift on momentum alone, a move that registered as mechanical failure on Vraxian sensors. As her pursuers adjusted their formation to capture her disabled craft, she triggered her vectored thrusters. The Arrowhead spun 180 degrees in under a second. Her neural link compensated for the intense G-forces, keeping her conscious and precise as she unleashed a burst of railgun fire. 3 crystalline fighters shattered into glittering clouds of debris. "That's how we do it on Earth," she transmitted on an open channel, knowing the Vraxians would hear. "Come on, you glorified calculators. Show me something I can't predict." Back on the Hyperion's bridge, Harrison watched the tactical display with pride. Status report: Rodriguez's squadron has claimed 27 kills, Torres announced. Chen's drone groups have another 43. Vraxian combat effectiveness is down 30%. Their AI is struggling to adapt to our unpredictable combat patterns. Commander Reynolds stepped forward. "Sir, the Vraxian fleet is adjusting. They're powering down their fighters' AI assistance, switching to pure organic control." Harrison nodded grimly. "They're learning. Lieutenant Rodriguez won't like that. She'll have to work for her kills now." In space, Rodriguez immediately noticed the change. The surviving Vraxian fighters began moving more organically, their patterns less predictable. A plasma burst grazed her fighter's wing, sending warning signals through her neural link. "Now that's more like it," she grinned, relishing the challenge. "Pixel, new plan. Show them what happens when humans and machines work together." Chen responded by redistributing his drone fighters into pairs, each one syncing with a human pilot. The neural network hummed as organic and artificial minds merged into perfect hunting teams. Rodriguez felt her awareness expand as 2 drones linked with her fighter, becoming extensions of her will. "Phoenix Squadron, execute maneuver Thor's hammer," she commanded, "just like we practiced." The human drone teams moved in concert, their formations fluid and unpredictable. When Vraxian fighters focused on the human pilots, drone partners struck from blind spots. When they turned to engage the drones, human pilots capitalized on their distraction. "Sir," Torres called out on the bridge, "we're picking up enhanced chatter from the Vraxian command channel. They're arguing about how to respond." Harrison leaned forward. "Let's hear it." The translated communication filled the bridge. "Their neural integration is superior to our projections. How are they maintaining such complex coordination without sacrificing tactical flexibility? This defies all known human capabilities." "That's because they don't understand our greatest strength," Harrison replied, though only his bridge crew could hear. "We don't see technology as a replacement for human intuition. We use it to enhance what we already do best." Rodriguez proved his point moments later. When her fighter took a direct hit that overloaded its port shield generator, she didn't retreat to the Hyperion's repair base. Instead, she used the damaged section as a lure, letting pursuing Vraxian fighters think she was vulnerable. The trap worked perfectly. Her drone partners caught 3 more enemies in a devastating crossfire. "Damage report," she called out, even as her neural link was already rerouting power to compensate. "Port shield at 12%, her eye responded. "But the Vraxians don't know that the other systems are still at full capacity." Rodriguez smiled. "Then let's show them why humanity wrote the book on playing wounded." Her fingers tightened on her controls as she targeted another enemy squadron. Time to remind the galaxy that the most dangerous human is one backed into a corner. Major Marcus Tank Thompson stood in the Hyperion's assault bay, surrounded by 30 of Earth's finest space marines. Their phase-shift armor gleamed dully under the red combat lighting, each suit representing more bleeding-edge technology packed into a human-shaped package than most civilian ships carried in their entirety. "Check your phase modulators one last time," he ordered, his own armor's heads-up display scrolling with pre-launch diagnostics. "Remember, we get one shot at this. The Vraxians think they know everything about boarding actions. Time to prove them wrong." "Phantom debris launchers ready." O'Reilly's voice came through the command channel. "Ready to deploy on your mark, Major." Thompson did a final visual sweep of his teams, Alpha through Charlie, each one specialized in different aspects of ship-to-ship combat. Their phase-shift armor would let them walk through internal barriers as if they were mist, a technology that had cost Earth's best scientists 5 years and countless resources to perfect. "Admiral," Thompson keyed his comm. "Strike team ready for Operation Ghost Runner." "Understood, Major," Harrison replied from the bridge. "Lieutenant Rodriguez's squadron is moving into position to create your opening. Stand by." Outside the Hyperion, the space battle had evolved into a swirling chaos of human unpredictability versus Vraxian adaptation. Rodriguez's fighters darted between capital ships, drawing fire and attention exactly where Thompson needed it. The Star Crusher loomed ahead, its crystalline hull bristling with energy weapons. "Strike team, load up," Thompson commanded. His Marines quickly filed into 6 assault pods, each one disguised to look like debris from destroyed fighters. "Remember your training. The Vraxians expect us to cut through their outer hull like every other boarding action they've faced. They've never dealt with phase shift tech." "Launch window in 30 seconds. Torres announced ship-wide. Vraxian point defense grid is focused on our fighter screen." Thompson sealed his pod, feeling the familiar pre-combat surge of adrenaline. "Strike team, final equipment check. Activate neural suppressors." The neural suppressors were crucial. They'd mask the Marines' brain activity from Vraxian biosensors, another human innovation born from bitter experience. "Launch in 5, 4, 3. The pods ejected silently into space, looking like nothing more than battle debris to Vraxian scanners. Thompson watched through his pod sensors as they drifted toward the Star Crusher, riding the chaos of battle like leaves in a storm. "All pods passed their outer sensor grid," his tactical officer reported. "They're not even scanning us." Thompson allowed himself a grim smile. "Prepare for phase breach on my mark. Teams Alpha and Bravo, target their engineering sections. Charlie team, You're with me. We're paying their bridge a visit." The pods impacted softly against the Star Crusher's hull, magnetic clamps engaging silently. Instead of cutting through or breaching the hull, Thompson gave the order that would change space combat forever. Phase shift engage. The Marine's armor hummed as the quantum field activated. Thompson stepped forward, passing through the Star Crusher's crystalline hull as if it were a hologram. His HUD highlighted the ship's internal layout, marking patrol patterns of Vraxian security teams. "We're in," he reported, watching his team emerge behind him. First Vraxian security team is 20 meters ahead. They're still watching their hull breach sensors, expecting a conventional assault. The Marines moved like ghosts through the alien ship's corridors, their phase shift tech letting them bypass doors, barriers, and even entire decks. The first Vraxian security team never saw them coming. Their neural disruptors dropped the aliens before they could raise an alarm. "Engineering teams in position," came the report from Alpha Team. "You were right, sir. They've got 90% of their security forces watching their hull access points." "Status of neural suppressors," Thompson asked as his team approached the bridge. "Working perfectly. As far as their internal sensors are concerned, we don't exist." Thompson reached the bridge's outer bulkhead, his team forming up around him. Through the phase shift field, he could see the Vraxian command staff inside, still confidently directing their fleet's battle against the Hyperion. "Admiral Harrison," he keyed his comm. "Strike team in position. Permission to introduce ourselves to the Vraxian command staff." "Permission granted, Major," Harrison replied. "Show them why humans are the galaxy's nightmare in close quarters." Thompson signaled his team. "Phase shift at full power. Let's remind these aliens why they should have studied Earth's combat history a bit more carefully." The Marines stepped through the wall, neural disruptors ready, about to demonstrate why humanity's reputation for tactical innovation was well earned, especially when backed into a corner. The Star Crusher's bridge erupted into chaos as Thompson's Marines materialized through solid walls. The Vraxian command staff froze in shock. Their tactical doctrine had no protocols for enemies who could ignore physical barriers. That moment of hesitation was all the humans needed. But the Vraxian fleet commander, a veteran of countless battles, recovered quickly. Even as neural disruptors dropped his bridge crew, he managed to transmit one final command to his fleet: "Execute Protocol Omega." On the Hyperion's bridge, Taurus's eyes widened in alarm. "Sir." Massive energy spike from all Vraxian vessels. They're reconfiguring their shield matrices into something new. Before Harrison could respond, space itself seemed to twist between the ships. A purple-black wave of quantum disruption expanded from the Vraxian fleet, warping everything it touched. The effect hit the Hyperion like a physical blow. Multiple systems failing. O'Reilly shouted over the sound of straining metal. "The quantum field is attacking our molecular bonds." Hull integrity dropping across all decks. Harrison gripped his command rail as the ship shuddered. "Analysis. It's a quantum disruption field," O'Reilly replied, his fingers flying across emergency controls. They've turned their entire fleet's shield grid into one massive weapon. It's designed to tear ships apart at the atomic level. They're trying to shake us to pieces. Combat alarms blared throughout the carrier. In the fighter squadrons, Rodriguez fought to maintain control as her neural link fluctuated under the quantum assault. "Phoenix Squadron, fall back to secondary positions. The disruption is playing hell with our targeting systems." In the drone control center, Chen screamed as feedback from his neural-linked fighters threatened to overwhelm him. Half his drone squadron spun out of control, their AI cores scrambled by the quantum field. "Admiral." O'Reilly's voice was grim. "Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Emergency force fields are holding, but the quantum disruption is eating through our structural integrity. We've got maybe 10 minutes before the ship starts breaking apart." Harrison faced the hardest decision of his career. The Hyperion, humanity's greatest achievement, years of work and resources, Earth's best hope, was being torn apart by an enemy weapon they'd never encountered. He could retreat, save his crew, preserve the carrier for another day. But that would mean leaving New Gibraltar to its fate. "Status of Major Thompson's team," he demanded. "They've secured the Star Crusher's bridge," Torres reported, "but the phase shift armor is malfunctioning under the quantum field. They're trapped behind enemy lines." Another violent shudder ran through the ship. Emergency lights flickered as power systems struggled to compensate. "Sir," Commander Chen spoke up, his voice steady despite the chaos. "We have to fall back. We can't win this fight." Harrison stared at the tactical display, watching his mighty carrier being slowly torn apart. But something caught his eye. A pattern in the quantum disruption field, a flutter in its energy signature. "O'Reilly," he called out, "the field's affecting our neural links, our phase shift tech, everything quantum-based. What does that tell you?" The engineer's eyes widened as he caught Harrison's meaning. "Sweet mother of, it's interfering with itself. The Vraxians are using quantum mechanics against quantum mechanics. Can we use that?" "Maybe." O'Reilly's fingers danced across his console. "But I'll need time to reconfigure our systems. Time we don't have. Unless we give you that time," Harrison finished. He keyed the ship-wide comm. "All hands, this is the Admiral. We're initiating Emergency Protocol Zeta. All non-essential power to structural integrity. Combat teams, prepare for close-quarters defense. If they want this ship, they'll have to take it deck by deck." He turned to Torres. "Get me Rodriguez. Channel open. Phoenix lead." Harrison's voice was iron. "I need you to buy us time. Use whatever means necessary. Just keep those Vraxian ships occupied for the next 5 minutes." Rodriguez's response crackled through static. "Copy that, sir. Time to show them some old-school Earth tactics. Phoenix Squadron, form up on me. We're going to remind these aliens why humanity survived every extinction-level event our planet threw at us." As his crew raced to implement emergency measures, Harrison watched the tactical display and made a silent promise. The Hyperion might be wounded, but this wasn't over. Humanity had spent its entire history turning desperate situations into unlikely victories. And they were about to do it again. O'Reilly's hands flew across his engineering console, sweat beading on his forehead as he raced against time. The Hyperion's hull groaned under the quantum assault, but his attention was focused on the energy patterns flowing across his display. "It's like looking at a mirror reflecting a mirror," he muttered. "The quantum field is creating recursive loops in its own matrix. If we could just—" "Talk to me, O'Reilly," Harrison demanded as another shudder rocked the bridge. "What are we looking at?" "The Vraxians built this weapon assuming everyone thinks like they do. Pure mathematics, perfect order. But quantum mechanics isn't about order, it's about probability and chaos." The engineer's eyes lit up. "And nobody does chaos better than humans." Rodriguez's voice crackled through the comm. "Whatever you're planning, make it quick. We're running out of tricks out here." Her squadron was flying patterns that would have been considered suicidal in any normal battle, using the quantum disruption's own interference to pull off maneuvers that defied physics. "Lieutenant Rodriguez," O'Reilly called out, "I need you to get every fighter and drone. We have to broadcast their neural patterns at full power, completely random frequencies. No coordination, no pattern, just pure human chaos. You want us to overload our neural links." Rodriguez sounded incredulous. "That could fry our brains." "Trust me," O'Reilly insisted. "Human brainwaves are naturally chaotic. They'll create quantum interference patterns the Vraxians can't predict." Harrison understood immediately. "Do it. All pilots, all drone operators, broadcast at full power. Show them what human minds can do." In the drone control center, Chen pulled himself up from where the feedback had knocked him down. "You heard them. Everyone, disconnect your safety limiters. Push your neural links to maximum." Hundreds of human minds suddenly broadcast their patterns into space, each one unique, each one chaotic in ways no computer could replicate. The quantum disruption field began to flicker as it encountered patterns it couldn't resolve. "Major Thompson," Harrison called out. "Status on the Star Crusher." "We've got control of their bridge," Thompson replied through static, "but we're cut off from their engineering section. Phase shift armor is barely functioning. Wait." He paused. "Sir, something's happening to their quantum field generators. The harmonics are shifting." O'Reilly slammed his fist on his console in triumph. "That's it. Their quantum field can't maintain coherence when bombarded with chaotic patterns. It's trying to compensate for too many variables at once." The tactical display showed the truth of his words. The purple-black energy field was developing holes, its perfectly ordered pattern dissolving under the assault of hundreds of randomized human neural patterns. "All fighters, all drones," Harrison commanded. "Concentrate your attacks on those weakening points. Lieutenant Rodriguez, coordinate the assault." Rodriguez didn't hesitate. "Phoenix Squadron, new targeting solutions uploading now. Hit them where their field is weakest. Pixel, get your drones in close. Use their own disruption effect against them." The space around the Hyperion erupted with renewed combat as fighters and drones struck at the Vraxian fleet's suddenly vulnerable points. Where before the quantum field had been tearing the carrier apart, now it was working against its creators, their perfect mathematical patterns disrupted by human unpredictability. "Sir," Torres called out, "the Star Crusher's quantum generators are overloading. They can't maintain field coherence." On the Vraxian flagship's bridge, Thompson watched through his phase shift armor's flickering display as the alien systems began to fail. "Their own weapon is turning against them, sir. Permission to deliver the final message." "Granted, Major. Make it count." Thompson approached the captured Vraxian fleet commander, his armor's translators ensuring his words would be perfectly understood. "You built a weapon based on perfect order, assuming everyone thinks like you do. But humans." He gestured to the chaos unfolding outside. "We thrive on disorder. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day, survived disasters that should have ended us, and learned to turn chaos itself into a weapon. That's humanity's greatest strength. We don't try to control chaos. We embrace it." As if to punctuate his words, the quantum disruption field collapsed completely, taking the Vraxian fleet's primary defense systems with it. The tide had turned, and the galaxy was about to learn why humanity's apparent weakness, its unpredictability, was actually its greatest strength. The Star Crusher's surrender rippled through the Vraxian fleet like a shockwave. One by one, their remaining ships powered down their weapons, their perfect formation dissolving into disarray. On the Hyperion's bridge, Harrison watched the tactical display shift from combat red to peaceful blue as ship after ship signaled their submission. "All Vraxian vessels have stood down," Torres reported, her voice thick with emotion. "New Gibraltar Station reports their shields are holding." We did it, sir." Harrison straightened his uniform, feeling the weight of the moment. "Signal Major Thompson to secure the Star Crusher's command codes. Lieutenant Rodriguez, maintain combat patrols until further notice." "Copy that," Rodriguez replied, her squadron still moving in their unpredictable patterns around the fleet. "Though I don't think they're eager for another round. Phoenix Squadron has confirmed kills on 37 capital ship weapon systems." In the drone control center, Chen finally disconnected from his neural interface, his hand shaking from the strain of pushing human consciousness to its limits. "Admiral, drone squadrons report minimal losses. The Vraxians never adapted to our hybrid control systems." "O'Reilly," Harrison called out, "ship status." The engineer looked up from his console, exhaustion and pride warring on his face. "Hull integrity stabilizing at 62%. We took a beating, sir, but the Hyperion's proving why we built her tough. Self-repair systems are already at work. We'll be combat-ready again in under 6 hours." The bridge elevator opened, and Major Thompson strode out, his phase shift armor bearing scars from the quantum disruption but still functioning. Behind him, under heavy guard, walked the Vraxian fleet commander. An imposing figure despite his defeat, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the light. "The Star Crusher is secure," Thompson reported. "Their commander insisted on speaking with you personally." Harrison turned to face the alien leader. For a moment, silence hung between them. Two military commanders who had just rewritten the rules of warfare. The Vraxian spoke, his translator converting his crystalline harmonics into English. "I must understand. Our quantum disruption field was perfect, based on pure mathematical principles that have never failed. How did you defeat it?" Harrison's response was measured. "Because you built it assuming everyone thinks like you do. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, or even our determination. It's our ability to embrace chaos, to find patterns in randomness that no computer can predict. We don't just adapt to the unexpected. We thrive on it. But your ship," the Vraxian gestured at the tactical displays, "it should not have survived our assault." "The Hyperion isn't just a carrier," Harrison explained. "She's humanity's answer to a galaxy that thought we were primitive because we didn't follow their rules. We built her not to match your technology, but to prove that innovation doesn't always mean advancement. Sometimes it means thinking differently about what you already have." A message flashed on the main screen. Earth Fleet Command had received their battle telemetry. Text scrolled across Harrison's personal display. "Operation Paradigm Shift successful. 3 more supercarriers approved for immediate construction. Admiral." Torres interrupted softly. "New Gibraltar is requesting permission to patch in a broadcast planetside. The civilian population. They want to thank the crew." Harrison nodded, and the main screen filled with images of cheering crowds. Humans, aliens, all celebrating together as the news of the Hyperion's victory spread. But it was a small group of children, human and alien alike, that caught his attention. They were playing with toy spaceships, reenacting the battle, already incorporating the day's lessons into their games. The Vraxian commander followed his gaze. "You have changed everything today. The galaxy will never look at humanity the same way again." "That was always the plan," Harrison replied. "Not to prove we're better, but to show that different isn't inferior. Humanity's path to the stars may not look like yours, but that's exactly why it will help make the galaxy stronger." As if to emphasize his point, the Hyperion's massive form cast its shadow across the surrendered Vraxian fleet, its battle-scarred hull gleaming in the light of New Gibraltar's twin suns. The ship was more than a weapon. It was a symbol of humanity's unique place in the cosmos, a reminder that sometimes the most primitive solution could overcome the most advanced technology, if applied with sufficient creativity and determination. The age of underestimating humanity was over. The galaxy would never be the same again.